Yo, what's going on? This is the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. I am Kuyapi, aka Patrick Michael Strange, your dough bro, your Babinka boy, master of the Holla Holla homies and the Cinna Gang. And of course, I have the amazing Ates, Cataphoric, and Viva Valentina. How are you, ladies?
Doing good.
Hey, we got another one here. Kuya, a friend of mine for a while. He's done it all, man. And I'm really curious about his latest evolution. He's like a Pokemon. We're getting ready to see it. My boy Jemarc-Van Axinto of We Are Heroes Productions LLC. I know I introduced you to him before, Tina, at our Totally Awesome Asians panel when we were at Awesome Con. This is Kat getting her introduction. He's a real cool brother. I hope y'all dig him as much as I do. Let's bring him on, ladies. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Here we go, Mr. Jemarc Axinto. How you doing, brother?
Return of the Mac. I'm on the return of the Mac. It's chill. I get that playing as I come in. Or just play the Oto Oto song. It's fine. Y'all do what you gotta do.
Yo, what's good, bro?
I'm fantastic. I'm so honored to be on here. When I heard y'all were making this, I was like, yes, let's get some representation podcasts out there. Let's show that Pinoys can be geeks as well as awesome dancers and all that good stuff. Like, yeah, so I'm about it. I'm real hyped.
Yes, man. You've always been a champion of our community, man. So I really appreciate you joining us and coming on and coming through to let the world know about what you're doing and the moves you're making. Just so great to see you, man. But before we get in, just because we are in COVID times and I haven't seen you since before this whole pandemic went down, how are you holding it down before we get down with everything else? And what have you been doing to just kind of maintain, man? Are you good?
Yeah. So before COVID, I went through like a really low point, and I started this process of just self-actualization and healing and being present and meditation, like actual meditation, not like clear your mind, which is a big misconception, but like be aware of those thoughts and give them space, but don't let them control you. And so I was in a weird way fortunate when COVID hit, not in the sense that like COVID's turned my life around and I'm doing amazingly, but just that I don't feel as consumed by it. Like I feel like I could handle anything after that low point. So I've been good. You know, my wife and I just moved up to Philly in June so that she can go to med school. And we love it. There's so much nature. It's like a big city, but there's a hiking trail 10 minutes from our house and like art museums everywhere. It's absolutely incredible. The day we moved in, there were people on the bridge leading our house protesting for Black Lives Matter. And it was like a diverse race of people. It wasn't just all Black people or all like white saviors. It was incredible. So like, I feel this is like the most at home we've ever felt in any place we've lived in 5 years.
Love it. Yes, I'm so happy for you, bro. Congrats, man. Just super excited for you. All right, let's get in, bro. We're going to dig into you. I love it, and especially when they're friends. Right. So, Tina, hit him off with our first question. Here we go.
Where are you from?
That's a hard question. I'm a military brat, y'all. That's a tough one. It's like, where was it's like, where are my parents from? Where was I born? Where do I consider home? So my parents are from Cebu City, you know, land of Lapu-Lapu. You know, we killed Magellan, pride, all up on that. And they're actually next door neighbors as kids and each other's first everything, which is a concept in my brain to conceive. But like, they gave me hella unrealistic expectations of dating growing up because of that, but it's fine. But yeah, so they're neighbors as kids. And then I was actually born and raised on a US naval base in Japan, lived there till I was 8. Spent every year of middle school in a different state or country. So that was, those really developmental years. That helped a lot. And then the last place I lived in before I was like an adult was Maryland. Then I met all y'all. And now I'm up in Philly. So living it
Wow.
Yeah, Philly, I would say of all, like, unless I can go back to Japan and also take everyone I know with me, Philly's home. Because that's the biggest thing, right? Is that like, when I feel homesick, I ache for Japan. But like, where all my friends and family and loved ones are, like, I can't just leave them just because of a physical location. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have reason to visit.
That's true. My parents actually just got stationed there again. So
there we go.
As soon as this pandemic's over, I'm like, bet y'all, let's go. Filipino trip. Let's do it. I'll show you all the hot spots. It'll be a good time.
Beautiful.
Which base was it?
Love it.
Yokosuka Naval Base is a
Yep, that's the big one.
2 hours south of Tokyo by train, I want to say. Yeah, something like that.
Dope. One of the places that I wanted to go, well, the main place I wanted to go when I enlisted into the military for the period of time that I was in was Japan. Never made it. Well, became a West Coast sailor, but I was hit everything.
They cheated you.
Yeah. I could have if I re-enlisted, but nah, that would just military wasn't for me. So anyway, but that's dope. So talk about living in Japan. Let's talk about some of these younger years before we get, to where we're at now. How is it growing up in Japan, being a military kid, learning, English, learning Tagalog if they taught you? Because that's been kind of a thing for a lot of the interviewees we've had on. Some didn't learn because of, living in America or other reasons. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the native tongue for my parents is actually Bisaya, so totally different dialect. If someone speaks Tagalog to me, I don't know what the hell they're saying. If someone speaks Bisaya to me, I can like vaguely work my way through context clues. But you notice me speaking, I don't have a Filipino accent, so to speak. Obviously, there's a bunch of different ones, but that's because my parents, first generation immigrants. My dad joined the U.S. Navy. My mom didn't become a U.S. citizen until I was like 11, even though she was with him the whole time. And so my parents didn't want me to face the same boundaries they had growing up, which was great as a kid. Like as a kid, I was super adjusted in American culture. But I think the turning point for me as an adult where I realized just how disconnected I was from my heritage because of that language was when my grandmother passed. I'm a performer. I'm very articulate. I'm used to giving speeches. My mom, was my mom's best friend, and she couldn't speak on her behalf. And my dad is military, so he wasn't going to do it. My brother has stage fright. He's not going to do it. And they're like, Jemarc, you do the thing. Our youngest baby boy. And I was like, great. My family speaks English, but it's different. It slaps differently when you're saying it in English versus like actually saying it. And so just coming to terms with how disconnected I am from my heritage because I can't speak the language. Great during the developmental years, but I do like often wish. And Bisaya, like I said, there's not a lot of Bisaya people. I can't just roll up on my Filipino homies and be like, who could teach me? They all want to teach me Tagalog. I'm like, no, there's a specific dialect I'm trying to learn here. But it is what it is. Growing up in Japan, though, gave me a very different perspective of race as well. Everybody was like trilingual or bilingual at least. It was either Filipino and English because, we'd be everywhere in the military. Oftentimes it was Filipino, Japanese, English, and then all kinds. And so for me, I didn't really see like a ton of white people until I came to California. So like my whole concept of racism just growing up was very different. I think my biggest experience with that without having the words for it was post 9/11, being a little brown boy living on an international military base was a rough time. I felt people staring at me. I didn't have the words for it, but I felt eyes on me at all times. Even though I'm Filipino, but like, brown is brown during the post 9/11 world. And so that was rough. But growing up in Japan otherwise was great. Safest country you could ever live in. My mom, Filipino mom, helicopter mom, so I didn't get to do this. But all my friends could hop on trains, go to Tokyo whenever they wanted to as kids, and do that in the middle of the day and come back, and they were Gucci. So, like, yeah. I can't imagine any. Like, I've gotten to the point, especially because Eliza and I are talking about having kids. Eliza's my wife. Having kids like after med school, where we'll just see like kids running around a neighborhood and we go, oh, this is a safe neighborhood. Like it sucks that I have to use that mentality of like, oh, look, there are people walking their dogs. This is a safe neighborhood. Like shit. Like
I know, like people out and about. And
yeah.
So
We've all seen the true crime documentaries. Like we know.
Yeah. Yeah, my metric system for like should we live here is it diverse and are kids out playing? Mm-hmm. And like that's the biggest thing. And does anyone have dogs? But that's just more of a personal like I want to pet all the dogs.
It's like are kids out playing? Are people walking their dogs? Are people pushing strollers? It's like okay, I can raise a family here because then that means there's going to be other kids for my kids, and then I can let them go run around.
Yeah,
so I feel that.
And is it diverse too? Because like I said, my conception of racism was non-existent growing up because I grew up in diverse circles. And it's not until you interact with people who weren't in those circles that you realize just how real it is beyond systemic, but also at like the micro level. So I want my kids to have an experience. I actually have art because like if and when we have kids, they'll be biracial, half white, half Filipino. And I have I don't remember the artist's name, but I think she was at Totally Awesome Asians that first year. But she did Warrior Disney Princesses, and we have it in our hallway. And I got
Sora Sung,
yeah,
that's my girl. Yeah,
and I got all of her princesses of color that she had that year, because I was like, our kids are going to be mixed. They're going to be kids of color. I want them to have like mixed women to look up to, along with their awesome mama, who's white, but you know, she gets it. So it's all good.
Love it.
Love it.
Beautiful.
I think that's awesome. Like growing up, you know, I'm half white, half Filipino. Like the box that was checked on my forms in school was white, and it's like, that's not quite right, but you know, that was just kind of like
the expectation. Yeah,
it was just chosen, I guess, for me. So that's really cool that you're thinking about that. It's got me thinking about that.
Yeah, well, it's also like our experiences, right? Growing up as first generation Americans to immigrant parents is like, we were made Americanized, which was kind of a trauma response to protect us. And it's not like we're not going to raise our kids in whatever country that they're in, but also like get them to appreciate their heritage more, which has this kind of stronger sense of preservation for our culture and our heritage that I really love.
Yes. So from Japan to where?
Monterey. It was from Japan to Monterey, California, and then from Monterey, California, last half of the 8th grade to St. Mary's County, Maryland. So I just kept going. Further conservative. The older I got, it was rough, dude. Like,
so let's hear about that. So you said that Monterey is the first exposure to white people.
Yeah, like on a grander scale, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I had a little group of white friends when I lived in Monterey, California. But it's also California, so like it still wasn't as much of an issue. It really wasn't problematic till I came to Southern Maryland.
Wow.
And
yeah.
I was
So
like,
different type from West Coast to East Coast, and a lot of people that have been on this far are really curious about like the West Coast East Coast difference. So you can definitely speak on that. How was it, you know, growing up West Coast and then East Coast, and then the differences there and what you were experiencing, like you said?
Yeah, so I was only in California for like a year and a half, but that year and a half there, like I was just friends with everybody, you know. Like I think the kids that tried to bully me were not white. And I don't think they tried to bully me because of their race, but they just happened to not be white. And I just ignored them and humiliated one of their friends by just walking away, which was really funny. Like they tried to fight me. And I was like, you're really insecure, aren't you? And I was a little shithead, mind you. Like I had so much more confidence as a kid getting into situations than I do now. I think because I didn't have any sense of like death can happen. So like people would try to beat me up. I'd be like, you're really insecure that you need to do this. You don't even know who I am. And I walked away and all his friends were laughing at him. I never heard from him again. Like that hurt more than like me punching him in the face.
Nice. That's awesome.
But yeah, so like I just chilled with everybody. And then in America, it just felt so like, you know, the black kids hung out at the black kids table. The Asian kids were at the Asian kids table. The rednecks were everywhere. You couldn't get away from them. Like it's just, it was hard. I will say the hardest place, because like moving from a place you lived like the first 10 years of your life is hard, but it was so much harder moving to Maryland because it's just hard feeling like I belonged.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall any traditions like Filipino traditions that your family did, or did you have aunties and uncles that come to visit, or were there aunties and uncles living in Maryland or at all?
No, actually, all my family, they live all over the world, but the family I'm closest to all live in Cebu City still.
Oh, wow.
But we would go back and visit them every Christmas. We toss coins out to the carolers every year. We do those things where you play games with everyone, but the prizes always go to all the kids in town. You know, and me being a little kid, like, how come I don't get this big ass bag of rice? I just wanted to win something. I didn't give a shit what it was. Did the whole like run down relay race, dressed into drag clothes, run back, break an egg with a stick while blindfolded because you're too poor to have a piñata. You know, that type of shit.
You also send boxes back home, like clothes and things like that?
Oh yeah. What was it?
Balikbayan?
Balikbayan? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely send balikbayan. Yeah. Not as much now. A lot of my extended family is getting older, but also just like money's rough, 2020. Yeah. But the hopeful goal is eventually do it some more again when things are more financially stable. And my parents still do it. They're going to do it a hell of a lot more now that they're back in Japan, for sure.
Oh, I'm jelly though. So you were able to go back and visit every now and then. So you've been to the homeland. Like I've never been.
Oh
so,
yeah.
yeah, that's a goal.
Oh yeah. Highly recommend going to Cebu. Happiest, nicest people you'll meet. It's the usual. Like I think that's the biggest thing too. That's funny growing up Filipino. Like spit some dirt about it. Is that my parents are always like, "You're gonna get kidnapped. You're gonna get Do not speak English. If you speak English, they will take you. I will never see you again." We had a bodyguard that had to go with everywhere I went. And a relative who would talk to everyone for me. I couldn't say shit in a cab. Like I will get kidnapped if I do. Like that was the real shit. And that stays with you too. Like as an adult, when I was going back, I was like, when my mom was like, "Yeah, you go ahead," I looked at her like, I can just go. I'm not gonna. Look, Mom, I get I'm 21 now, but like. You said these people had guns. I'm still vulnerable to bullets. Do you want to send a friend with me? And I was like, no, they'll just like scam you this time. I'm like, that's not better. I mean, that's marginally better. That's a leg wound versus a gunshot. But like, what do we?
Yo,
yeah,
I still feel that way, bro. Like I'm super scared. And now with Duarte as the president, and he kills people, yo. Like fuck that. Like I
don't let him catch you with weed, man. That's the biggest thing with Duarte. Just like that's his whole thing is like war on drugs. Anybody on drugs, like he don't give a shit why you're on it. He's just gonna straight up kill your ass. And
but also the press though, they kill in like press cats and like if you're outspoken about the government, he will get you. Like I'm afraid.
I got on some people who were not Filipino, who were like, Duarte speaking out against President Trump. Did you hear that? I'm like, this shit's a dictator. I don't give a fuck what he says. Like, yeah, he's speaking out, so it makes him look better as a dictator. Like, that doesn't change him being a dictator.
Because Trump says bad as a dictator. That's all that this means. It's not better. They're both.
Like, you're a shitty dictator with other dictators. Like, why would it go that far? Like,
yo, real talk. Yo, okay, all right. So let's get into some of the stuff that you started getting into that kind of paved the way to your future as an adult and what you wanted to get into. So what can you remember earlier on getting into? What did young Jemarc get into? Like gaming? What? Because I know you're a man of many talents, bro. Like what did you get into?
So there's a story behind that. The reason why I just have so many hobbies and talents is because I'm a military brat, and like I didn't have a ton of friends growing up.
Same, bro.
So it was like pick up a hobby or like do shit you didn't want to do just to fit in with certain groups of people. And like I didn't want to smoke, I didn't want to drink, I wasn't trying to have babies, like I wasn't trying to do none of that. And so I was like, I'm gonna pick up hobbies. And so as a kid, I did a lot of writing. That was my self-expression, and a lot of playing JRPGs because those are my shit. Suikoden, Chrono Trigger, Legend of Zelda, all that, all the way. And then as I got older, when America's Best Dance Crew, ABDC, came out, I was still in 7th grade in California, and I saw the Jabberwockies, and I was like, I could do that. And that got me into dancing. I was a dancer all around for like 10 years, a decade. I choreographed. That became a source of income for me. I choreographed for dance videos. I choreographed for like the dance club in my college. I also did a bunch of musicals, which was a hell of a lot of fun. So I started dancing in middle school. I got into acting and performance in high school. And in college, I got super into like literary analysis and philosophy. And post-college was when I got really into social justice. And the reason for that was in college, I was super frustrated with the college student bubble of like, they were so like, oh, I learned all this shit, now I'm gonna go burn down the system, which is fine, but it wasn't channeled appropriately, and it just sounded like a savior complex, and I wasn't into it. And then when I got out of college, I was like, all right, now let's do some work. And so that all just kind of fused into me trying a bunch of different shit. I had a company called Dances Community throughout college where we brought in different dancers and choreographers from all around the DMV and brought them down to Southern Maryland to host hip-hop workshops at affordable, like $5 classes. Actually, that's how I met, that's not how I met, but through dance is how I met Mike Flood, Spidey Spice cosplay.
Big Mike, yeah. What's up, bro?
That's how I met Spidey Spice, and we've been tight ever since. I'm actually the godfather of his daughter. because we fam. It's all good. Little Aubrey, she's so big now. But it's just one of those things where I would find something that I was really passionate about and I would go for it, but I would have no community with which to help that passion thrive. And it started with dance. Dance for me started the early wasteland days of YouTube, of like Ryan Higa and Kev Jumba and like Smosh and all of them. And I would just post little videos of me freestyling to like Get Low or Drop It Like It's Hot or a Chris Brown song before he became problematic, and like everyone would be like, you're fucking shit, kill yourself, you should stop. And I would just keep going. And I think it's because I grew up on Dragon Ball Z, but I always see that as like, I gotta get stronger, like I'm gonna improve and keep working on it. I did Taekwondo. I have a second Dan, which is second degree black belt in Taekwondo. Same mentality with that, is that like my favorite thing to do is sparring. And whenever I sparred somebody who could beat me, I'd get real, like I would smile, which nobody liked. Like no one liked knocking someone on their ass and then they're grinning. But like I'd be hype. I'd be like, yes, here's someone I can beat one day. I'm gonna spar them every day until I figure out their shit and how to beat them. And that's kind of just my general approach to life in terms of hobbies, I would say specifically.
That's kind of like our chess bully Tina over there. She's the chess bully. I don't know if you're into chess, Jemarc, but that's our girl right there.
Did you watch Queen's Gambit? Because that was like, oh, I need to play chess now, because that was cool as shit.
A lot of fun.
I'm really bad at chess. I'm one of those people who will fall for the usual trick and be mated in 4 moves. But like, I'm passionate. I'll try.
Chess is one of the things where if you're not playing it all the time, you're not gonna be good. You kind of have to work it to have it type skill.
I didn't realize there's so many like strategies that you could memorize and like names for the strategies. Like that was awesome. I was like, oh shit. Like Queen's Gambit was like the Western attempt at making a sports anime, right? Yeah. Like they went heavily into detail. They made it weirdly sexy, and like it got super hyped for no reason at all. And I was into it. I was like, that's probably why I'm in, because I love sports anime. But as far as hobbies go, because I'm speaking specifically to hobbies, not so much like social interactions and all that stuff, which we'll get into. I've never had inhibitions about impressing anybody, which is why I have so many. I've always just been like, I want to learn a thing and I'm going to do the thing. And for me, growing up without a ton of friends that I was really close to, starting when I moved to Maryland, every summer I teach myself a new skill. So one year I taught myself how to do spoken word poetry. Another year I knew the fall play from my college was a Shakespeare show. So I learned how to love Shakespeare that entire summer. I just read nothing but Shakespeare and read a bunch of Shakespeare. When my wife and I moved in together, back when we were just, she was my fiance, she was vegan. And I was like, well, I can't justify buying separate food, and I can't justify cooking separately and having separate dishes. I'm not going to make you change this major lifestyle. I guess I'll go vegan. And that was the same year Food Wars came out. And so I watched Food Wars and I was like, I guess I'm gonna learn how to cook now. And I did it. For my podcast, I taught myself how to draw and also how to compose music. And it's all literally just because I don't have this sense of like, I hope people like it. I'm just like, I'm gonna make this shit, and then people are gonna give me feedback. I'm gonna pick and choose which is legitimate feedback or which is somebody calling me shit, just call me shit, and then take it from there. So, yeah.
My God, see how amazing this brother is, man. I love it. I love it, bro. Hey, so let's get to the woke part. Let's. What made you? Well, you said you were in the college bubble. So, was there a specific event or anything that happened along the way during all of that life experience that you were doing? When you were either with dance, did you like encounter a crew that were like calling y'all names or something or whatever? Is there something specific that might have happened?
So I think the thing that really got me more into social justice is like really, really actively. And I think this was like 4 or 5 years ago was when I really got like super gung-ho and passionate and got to see more of like the forest for the trees type deal. So I went to this panel. I was run by this guy, Patrick Strange. It was about totally awesome Asians or whatever. And no, I'm not just saying that shit to like say it. I'm legit, because I sat in there and, like I said, growing up a military brat and growing up somebody who didn't really experience racism firsthand, I'm extremely privileged. the racism I experienced firsthand, both systematically and in one-to-one interactions, was very minor and minimal. But like going to that and seeing how widespread it is just helped me really reflect. And so part of why I started in the past 5 or 6 years really changing how I approach life in terms of always keeping in mind equity and equality and acceptance, was I looked back at some of the writings. I did a lot of short story writings as a kid. A lot of it was just creating a lot of Gary Sue characters. Like, this is my fan fiction hero, and he's going to be Mega Man and the best Pokemon trainer and Goku all in one, and he's not going to have any weaknesses. But they're all white, and they're all named Zach, because I hated my name growing up. I was like, I just want my name to be Zach. I think it's cool. There's a Z in it.
This is Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell?
No.
That was my Zach.
I just liked the sound of it, honestly.
Man, I ain't never met a night Zach. You made a poor life choice, bro.
Final Fantasy Zach is amazing. Okay, but he's not a real Zach.
That don't count either.
True, Zach from the Power Rangers. There you go.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And he's not white, but but yeah. So looking back at all of that after that panel and seeing just how deeply embedded my own internal racism was, really helped me kind of want to look at like what all of my other internal biases were and really take a step out of it. And it's been a learning process, and also coming to terms with like, oh shit, there are all these things that I was doing that I wasn't aware of that was causing harm. But because we were all kids and awkward, nobody wanted to speak up and actively be like, hey, what you said really hurt me. But also because I was a kid and awkward, even if they did say it at that time in my life. I say kid, I was in high school and college, but like we're all kids at that point when you really think about it. Like our brains aren't fully developed. And like even if they said something to me, I probably would have been like, oh, you're being oversensitive. And so it really took just that moment of realization of like, wow, it's not just the Nazis screaming at you in the street. It's that inherent stuff of like, wow, the only hero I had to look up to growing up was Dante Bosco, and that's it. Specifically in U.S. media, my parents loved TFC, but that shit drove me crazy. But like TFC, wow, yeah. So.
Well, now they're making more Filipino American kind of centered content. So
yeah, which is extremely exciting. Sign me up. I want to audition. But yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then I just started really analyzing like what were my homophobic tendencies, what were my transphobic tendencies, what were things that I wasn't really recognizing. A lot of that also helped inspire my own journey of mental health and mental wellness, and seeing how we're all kind of collectively living in this trauma cycle, and some of it's generational trauma cycle, some of it is just living in America trauma cycle of that capitalist like drive to just like work until you die, and realizing that yes, I'm not responsible for any hurt that I have experienced growing up, nor are my parents to blame, so to speak, for any kind of harm they caused through their own generational trauma, stuff like that. But I am responsible for my own healing. And the only way to break that cycle is to take accountability, not just like, oh, I fucked up and I hurt these people. But I was in a space of just like constantly feeling racked in guilt and going to a really dark place, and I couldn't be there anymore. And doing that also doesn't help anyone, nor does it help myself. So it was that process of learning to accept those mistakes, but also to forgive myself, which was the hardest thing ever, and understand that who I was then is not necessarily a definition of who I am striving to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, I love it. Love that self-realization, self-actualization, bro.
So and that's why I voted for Trump. Oh shit! How did we get here? How fucked up? How can I cuss on your show? I should ask that.
Yeah, you're good.
How fucked up would it be if I said like all this woke shit and like mental health and wellness and love each other? So that's why I put it for Trump. I'm gonna take a soundbite of that. If I ever make it, like 10 years down the line, people are like, Jemarc Axinto voted for Trump. No. It's like, y'all just took a cut of a line. There was more context to this.
If I had the power of the shocker, I don't know if y'all, or that's probably dating me. It's a very old 80s horror movie where like the shocker was a serial killer who could go through, you know, the circuitries through the screens. I would have came straight to you and choked the shit out of you, bro.
I would have fucked with you more. I would have been like harder daddy.
Dude, But hey, man, I want to say, man, thank you for sharing that. That's real talk right there. And I'm gonna tell you, you know, as old as I am and everything I've done, I still don't think I've done enough, and I still go through the same struggles, through the same stresses, through the same depression. Matter of fact, I'd like to say, kind of like they say, Hulk stays angry. I stay depressed, although you wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like real talk. You know, I just try to keep myself motivated. I try to kind of overcompensate by being over positive in a way, because I know that a lot of people look up to me, and you know, I have a family and I have a child, and you gotta put your best foot forward because you don't want them to think, you know, or you don't want them to, you know, not think that they can do it. So yeah, it's real talk, man. I'm about to I was starting to feel it for a second. Like, I don't want to cry, but it's real talk though, bro. Yeah.
Could I be real with you on that though? I almost feel like, because I wish my parents did this for me. I almost feel like it would benefit, especially your kid more and the people who look up to you more, to see that vulnerability. Like, as Eliza and I are talking about having kids one day, I think the biggest conversation we've had every single day is like, we got to sit our kids down and remind them often, hey, it's my first time being a parent. Like, it's your first time being a human. It's my first time being a parent. I'm going to fuck up, and that's okay. Because I put my parents on this huge pedestal growing up, and I put my older brother on this huge pedestal growing up. So coming to terms with any ramifications and traumas that I may have incurred, like, made me so angry. And I felt like so betrayed and lied to. And it also, like, anytime I made a mistake, I was like, well, my parents have never fucked up, and they've never felt this low, and they've never struggled. And that was always really hard. And so that's kind of the thing of like, yo, man, you can feel sad. And like, also allowing yourself to feel that and not constantly feel overly positive and giving yourself time for yourself is what will ultimately inspire more people, you know? And that's something I'm still trying to learn. I always have a shit ton on my plate, and my wife always has to remind me, it's like, are you taking time for yourself? And I'm like, you're right, let's go for a hike, or let's watch Project Runway and cuddle with our cats for a bit. Cause like, you gotta give yourself that time, or else it's gonna destroy you. It nearly destroyed me. So like, that's real talk. But I love you, man. If you feel depressed, you want to just like get on Zoom and cry it out, let's do it, dude. I cry all the damn time. It's great. It's a good feeling,
bro. Love you, bro. Love you. You're gonna be a great dad. I can't wait for it, man.
I hope we ultimately decide we want to have human babies, because like I'm a raising the little asshole. It's gonna be a good time. They're going to be the type of kids who, like, if a guy's catcalling, you're going to be like, leave that lady alone. I'm like, yes, child, do it. If I do it, we'll fight. But, like, if he fights a child, he looks like a dick.
Oh, man. So let's talk about your latest evolution. We Are Heroes, the tabletop from the end of the world. How did this all come together? And it started from tabletop from the end of the world, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so actually, We Are Heroes Productions' first iteration was called Troll House Productions. And that was me and my friends from high school, who, Southern Maryland, all hella white, just making like little comedy sketches on YouTube, which you can still find like 2 or 3 of them on YouTube right now. And that was kind of me having this huge realization of like, oh shit, I don't know nearly enough about video production to like lead an entire team. I need to take a step back. And so I did that, and instead I made my channel Gamer's Guide, which was me taking all of my college art and philosophy experience and gaming, and I taught philosophy using video games as the medium. So I was like, I'm going to teach you all about concepts of freedom using God of War, what makes us really free. I'm going to teach people about anxiety and depression using Ni no Kuni, like stuff like that. And then that eventually, I transitioned out of that just because like, for every minute of YouTube video, it's an hour of editing time, and my videos were getting up to like 30 minutes long. And also, I didn't have the self-assuredness and confidence at that point in my life. So when I was doing my YouTube channel, my wife was going through some medical stuff. I'm sure, Pat, you remember Eliza was in a wheelchair a few of the times you met her. So she's totally healthy now. Chronic conditions completely healed, which we can totally talk about here or off. Like stuff that doctors said would never healed, which was incredible. But during that time, I was a full-time caregiver. I couldn't work. I couldn't go to school. So I made a YouTube channel. But it was this kind of desperate attempt to like feel validated, like I was still doing something, even though being a caregiver is a full-time job. But growing up male in this society, I thought I wasn't doing enough. And that really fucked with my head, and I had to take a step back from that. And so I got introduced to tabletop gaming by my best friend, Mitch, where he's 2-3 years older than me. So my first year of college, his like second to last year of college that summer, he's like, let's play a tabletop game. I was like, that's too nerdy even for me, said the guy who plays a shit ton of video games and reads manga and watches anime and all that shit. And he's like, it's like improv. And I was like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. And so we played this game called Deadlands. I got hooked. We played 5 games, and then we didn't play again for like a decade because we just got busy. He got busy with his life. I got busy with my life. I would ask him at least once a year, every year for that decade, like, when are we going to play again? When are we going to play again? And I was like, you know, what if I just appeal to our mutual vanity and narcissism that comes with being theater kids? And I was like, what if we made a show? And so we agreed to make a Dungeons and Dragons show end of 2017, early 2018. And I was like, okay, so there's a lot of D&D podcasts out now. It's apparently super popular. So what if we make it 10 times more difficult for us? And so that's when we came to the agreement that I would write this kind of dystopian meta narrative about, like, what if capitalism reached its natural conclusion if it continued down this path it's on. And that would be the world becoming what's called a corporatocracy, which is basically what we are, but there's like, oh, we have a government, but it's just this idea that the entire country is run by corporate interests.
Wayland Yutani. Yeah, we got that.
Yeah, but you know, we hide it behind this veil of having representatives who totally are in the corporation's pockets, and I basically just take everything and satirize it by removing all pretenses. So in this meta dystopian narrative, it's 500 years in the future. Russia is definitely in there because there's a lot of Russian words, and essentially all of the rich and affluent people are plugged into this virtual reality system where they can just live their hedonistic best lives, and everyone else is forced to live in a decrepit, fallen apart country that's been ravaged by nuclear radiation. There are mutated monsters everywhere. Every year for what was Thanksgiving, they celebrate Ahoda, which is the Russian word for hunt, where the rich and affluent hunt down all of the poor people and then eat them. So it's that metaphor of Thanksgiving, but just remove all the pretenses. For the holiday season, there's Kupit Day. Kupit is a Russian word meaning, I want to say to buy, where people buy gifts for each other and then throw them onto a fire, which is basically what holiday shopping is. Like you get this thing from somebody like, oh, I love it, and then you never open it, and like it gets stuffed somewhere. So just removing all pretenses. I think my proudest moment I ever wrote was for Pride Month, our first year. I wrote that the corporate overlords were selling Pride buttons, and then the month immediately after Pride Month, they arrested everyone who bought a Pride button and seized all their assets, which is like, just, you know, it takes all the pretenses and all the hypocrisy, and it's just like, if they had even more power than they already do now, what would happen? And so anytime I got frustrated at Trump, I basically wrote it into the show. But it's still a Dungeons and Dragons show. So on it, I play, we're 4 survivors in this post-apocalyptic America who are unplugged and who find comfort through Dungeons and Dragons, but also unwittingly get swept up in a revolution against their corporate overlords. In the D&D world, I play Twilight. They're a tiefling bard. They're really great. They're gender-fluid, non-binary, and one of the big things, is anyone here a D&D fan? Have y'all played at all or anything like that?
No, once or twice. Oh, we love D&D.
Tina's about that life. So you know, Tina, the bard stereotype. That bards like always want to fuck. Well, here I am, cishet Jemarc, playing a non-binary character, which I spent a year doing research and like interviewing all of my non-binary friends because I didn't want to fuck this up. And one of the biggest things I wanted to make sure to do was, if I'm going to have a character that doesn't suit the status quo of sexual gender representation, I don't want to hypersexualize them, but they're a bard. And I was like, you know what? They do want to F everybody. They want to friend everybody. So anytime I've gotten hurt in the D&D world has been from trying to hug something I shouldn't, and then having a very excellent point about consent. So like there was one scene early, like episode 3, where our DM was like, and you see this large shadow in the distance. And I go, hi, I'm Twilight. I run and I hug it, and it hurts me immediately. I go, oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes people don't like hugs, and I need to remember to ask. And like just shit, like there's like really minor sweet shit like that. And it's become this really wild experience of like, it was just an excuse to play D&D, but then we built an international audience from like here to Norway and Great Britain. And I'm like, oh fuck, like people like what we're making. And also they're actually really enjoying this meta narrative. Because the first season or two of the show, you can tell listening, there's like no connection between the D&D and the dystopian narrative. And then we had to start having actual production meetings about how it would line up. Because people liked it and we had to like put out quality.
Make it work.
Yeah, we had a make it work moment, to quote Tim Gunn. I've been watching a lot of Project Runway.
I love it. I love it. I remember playing D&D once as a kid, but other than that, I need to get in because I know you, Jemarc, I know Tina. There's a lot of friends of mine that are all about D&D, and I haven't done it but once as a kid, so I'm curious. I should find some time and would love for y'all to break a brother in.
You love Pat. You love acting. You love performing.
I know.
It's great. It's also honestly, I want one of my dreams down the line is to use it as a CERM. You know how like corporations have team building like retreats. Or they have like that one person come in, it's like, I'm going to teach you all about human compassion. I want to do that, but with D&D. So like go into corporations and be like, we're going to run D&D games and we're going to teach all your employees team building, creative problem solving, and all that stuff. I've literally written like my skills from D&D on resumes and gotten jobs. Like my resume from my most recent job was meet bi-monthly meetups for creative problem solving team building exercises.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Super cool. Wow. Okay. So tabletop for the end of the world. So we are heroes. The next evolution of the Pokemon that is Jemarc.
Yeah. I just wanted to when it started blowing up, I realized I could make my dream a reality of having that representation and having that equity. And for me, my belief is always like, if I can't pay someone, I'll tell them up front, and I'll also tell them up front I don't expect them to work for me if they're not okay with that. So we do have a diverse cast for like the meta narrative because that's just recording lines every now and again. Main cast is half and half white, half POC, because they're my friends from high school and I could make them do shit without having to pay them or myself. But like. I always try to make sure that stories that are being told, that characters are being created, all have that representation. And if there's any area where we're lacking knowledge, I always make sure to ask questions. But also, like, we've been around for 2 years. Every year for Pride Month, we sell a Pride t-shirt. The first year, 50% of the profits went to charity. This year, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. 100% of the profits, no matter how many Pride tees we sell, all go to the National Center for Transgender Equality. All of our profits for the month of June are being donated to support Black Lives Matter, and then 10% of all of our profits on our merch store also are being donated in support. Next year, I think I'm shifting the focus to ecological things, because like social justice is extremely important, but it's hard to fight for social justice when there's no planet that we're living on. So that's kind of what I'm shifting my focus to. And it's always been important to me to not wait until you're big to show that you have an opinion on something that matters. And so I always encourage all of my castmates, like all the time, like if you believe Black Lives Matter, if you believe in trans rights, you believe in all these things, first off, I hope you do, or at least don't not believe, or like don't hate that, because you wouldn't be working with me. But if you do, I don't want you to silence yourself just because you're with this company. You are representing yourself first before you're representing us. So I don't want to be the kind of person who's like, well, we're a company, we should hide. It's like, no, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you're a Trump supporter, don't like my shit, get the fuck out. Like, I don't need you. I don't need you listening to my shit. You're not the kind of fan I want. And sure, that might have stifled some of our listenership, because a lot of any community can have a lot of toxic people comprise a majority of it, because that's where it started. But I don't mind it. Like, I'd rather have quality listeners over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Yo, man, bro, you just always inspire me every time I talk to you.
Awesome. I'll stop. I'll stop it.
You do, bro, you do. Can you talk about some of the struggles? So you're doing such amazing things, but what are some of the things, what's the lesson learned that you learned along the way that you would like to impart, to the listener right now, that's listening?
You will never find success until you learn to love and forgive yourself.
It's beautiful.
I think that's
dropping gems on us. I love it.
I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that a lot of my endeavors growing up, from dancing to everything, was always about trying to find that outside validation. I started learning how to dance because I wanted to make friends. I started my YouTube channel where I taught philosophy because I wanted to build a big fan base and just do that forever. And I think the reason why this project, compared to all other ones, which ironically with this project I'm 10 times more busy than I'd ever been with any other project, is because I really got to a point of centering and learning to love myself. And I don't mean love myself in the stereotypical, like, live, laugh, love, like, take a bubble bath sometimes, be great, like, treat yourself. But like the deep inherent, like, I have shit that I need to work on. Like, I had so much anger with me, especially post last election, that was manifesting in very unhealthy ways. I had very unhealthy perceptions of myself that would manifest as being lashing out or self-deprecating, or cause me to spend hours on end in bed not wanting to move, or eating unhealthy, or like so many things. And I would always have like these peaks and falls and peaks and falls. And as of, I would say that maybe like 6 months ago, when I really, really dove deep into it, I read this great book by Eckhart Tolle, who's a really great guy, called The Power of Now. I started doing this training thing that's supposed to help cure like any limbic system impairments, which in my case was an anxiety disorder, which they tell you is chronic, it's supposed to be permanent, and really just worked on, like, I will never find, and also redefining what success was for me as well. And for me, success was, it used to be, I won't be successful until I'm doing what I love. I won't be successful until a bunch of people acknowledge me. I won't be successful until I'm in a relationship. I won't be successful until, like, just all these external validation things. And then I finally got to the point, it's like, I will be successful. So also that language as well. I will be successful. I am successful because I've learned to be present and love myself. And so I'm sure, I mean, you're mentioning depression, Pat. I've been through that too, where the days just seem to drag. And it seems like the world is passing you by, and then you get anxious and overwhelmed by like all this shit just like pouring down on you, and your cup's getting full and pouring out and pouring out and pouring out. Now for me, my days do feel long, but it's because I'm present in that moment. And so like, I'm grateful for how long the days are instead of dreading them. And I feel like I have all the time in the world. Like I'm 10 times busier than I've ever been, especially with this production company. I do all of our marketing material. I design all of our merch. I edit all of our episodes, write the scripts, and I connect with all the fans, and I compose all the music. But I also take more breaks than I ever have before. And it's because I'm so much more present than I ever was. And so I'm able to be like, I don't want to do this right now. I'm going to go spend time with my wife. I'm going to go cook some food. I'm going to go do this. And so that's what, but I wasn't able to achieve that until I learned to love myself, but also forgive myself for all the shitty things I've learned that I've done in the past from being ignorant and not knowing stuff. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I guess, I don't know.
I'll have a question.
Right.
You know, it seems like you're trying to, you know, really lean into the diversity and the more welcoming parts of tabletop gaming, which is awesome. I mean, part of the appeal for tabletop is that anybody can play and that you can change the experience to match your players' needs, and you should if you're, you know, good at what you do. But your base for tabletop games, the people who are the majority target audience, the people who are running the major companies, it's cis white men, and really wealthy cis white men. And they, you know, there was just a big thing about Tasha's Cauldron coming out and their hand wave for racism. So, I mean, how do you kind of take what some might argue is an inherently flawed game and try to make it a diverse? And this is me being an asshole and a devil's advocate, because I definitely play D&D too, but you know what I mean? I just thought I'd ask.
That's fine. I mean, I definitely make sure every character is white, like, for sure. All of them are white men. And that's how I avoid racism, because I don't see color. No, I'm just kidding. No, so... No, so, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about such a creative thing, right? I mean, first off, our show is entirely homebrewed. And the way that we, I guess, avoid the issues, that we just don't give a shit about that. And I mean, Tasha's doing the whole thing where they're removing like evil races versus good races, which is a step in the right direction, but we didn't follow that rule.
That's not really what they're doing, but
Oh, that was the last news I heard. You'll have to tell me more about that. But okay, the last tweet I heard was that's what they wanted to do. But like, if you're an actual like creative person, you don't have to follow that anyway. Like some of our most beloved characters on our podcast are all monsters. Like Twilight has a child that's a mimic, so that's a thing. They didn't give birth; they adopted the child.
It's still their child.
Yeah.
That's
it's still their child.
That's still their child.
It's still
Exactly. it's still baby, yeah. And so in terms of avoiding it, I mean that also comes down to choosing who to ignore. We haven't had anyone. I mean the cool thing, this was kind of a cheat for us too. So our podcast in the Dystopian Metta Narrative takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, which there were two things I made sure to make very clear from the first episode. One is, oh no, the rule book is missing some pages because we're in the future. So fuck the rules. We don't give a shit. Like that's it right there. Some of these pages are missing. It's probably fine. There we go. Number two was when we started out, our sound quality was trash. Well, like we live in an apocalypse. What the fuck do you want from us? Like I found this mic in a bunker and it was half destroyed and I fixed it up. So like it just served as a very good excuse for a lot of things. But for us, and that's not to say it's not an issue within the community and within the writing, but for us as creators of our own world, using this as an art form and a medium has not been a problem. And we also have those important conversations too about what do we talk about, what's appropriate to talk about, right? Like for me, sexual assault doesn't need to be spoken about in media because it's not dealt with appropriately in the law. Like if someone's doing that, unless it is a woman and unless or in some cases a man or a trans person who has actually gone through it and is trying to show that perspective and actually show the grim reality of it and do it appropriately, don't do it. Like what are you trying to gain from this other than like trying to get some like street cred or what the fuck ever? So we don't talk about that, and we always make sure that like if something comes out that can come across as like making fun or poking light at that, we make sure to like pipe in like consensually, right? It's like, yeah, of course, or like just don't put the joke in the thing. Anything in regards to race, like we don't have anything in the pod where like people are being enslaved for the color of their skin or anything like that, because like we know it's fucked up. What do we have to gain from it? Like if we're going to talk about difficult topics, it's always going to be very intentional. So when Black Lives Matter became more of a mainstream thing, because of course we all know it's been around for a long ass time, and now it's just finally found success because capitalism no longer has people indoors. So like, I mean, in their offices, so people are going to be rioting, and it's great. Like best thing coronavirus ever gave us was that. But like I wrote in corrupt police officers into the meta dystopian narrative who were serving a certain idea because that makes sense and that serves a narrative. But I wouldn't do that just to write a really fucked up like cop beating up a Rodney King type character for fun. Like that's not it's about being very intentional with your choices and making sure you're very sure about why you're doing something, but also making sure your message is very clear also. And I think that's where the disconnect comes with a lot of creators, is that they're doing something and they're so sure about it, but they're not taking the time to take stock with the people that topic is about and being like, is this coming across right? Like I said, I'm very cishet. I play a character that is very not either of those things. And I made sure to talk to every non-binary, gender-fluid friend I had, trans friend I had, what are things that frustrate you about character representation? Is it appropriate for me as who I am to even play a character like this? That one I was very fortunate in that like y'all ain't famous, you can't afford to pay anybody, and it's like you're right. So it'd be different if I could afford. Like if I had all the money in the world, obviously I would hire somebody to play that kind of character. But just stuff like that to be really mindful of.
All right, Jemarc. The future of We Are Heroes Productions LLC and Jemarc Axinto, the man of many talents, who I love to death, bro. What can we look forward to with you and with We Are Heroes?
Yeah. So when we realized the Tabletop For the End of the World had blown up, we actually set to setting an end. And we knew the ending was going to happen around the 3.5-year mark. So we're into the second year of, we just passed our second year anniversary. And we're coming up on the end technically in the grand scheme of things. And I'm already working on series 2. Series 2 is also going to involve me actually writing the meta narrative and being the DM, which is wild. And that's going to be all about religious cults and how religion can be used as a means of manipulating society. So that'll be a lot of fun. I think that will actually have some topics on race in it, but it will be, once again, very intentional in why it exists. We are currently hosting a cosplay contest. Tina, if you want to compete and help give the shout out. I'm actually putting up my own money for the cash prizes. So it's $500, $300, $150, and then at every prize level, I think like first prize is like $100 worth of TFEW merch. Second place is $75 worth of TFEW merch. Third place is $50 worth of TFEW merch. And then everybody who wins also becomes a featured cosplayer, which means that we'll just like share your shit and bump you up. Once our website is done, we'll also, all our cosplayers will also have their own pages or like bios on our website as well. The website's taking a long time. And yeah, we always try to connect with people. The plan after the cosplay contest is I want to put up an animation contest. So anybody who's into animation or making animatics that wants to enter that, there'll also be cash prizes there. And I just want people to listen to our thing because I'm really proud of all the work everyone's put into it. And I know it's good, not because of the work, but because of the communities we've built around it. We have a very wholesome, loving, supportive community, and just a lot of gaybies who really love our shit, which is so heartwarming. Like a majority of our fans are like little non-binary and trans middle schoolers, which is the most beautiful thing in the world. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you can be safe. Like I'll adopt you. It's fine. I'll keep you all safe. It's just a wonderful time. And yeah, so in the future, you can look forward to series 2. I am in the process of writing a Filipino superhero comic called Mako.
Yeah.
So that should be really, really cool. I can't go heavily into detail on a recording, but I'll tell you all about it off the recording.
Yeah, keep me posted, bro. I gotta know.
Yeah, so I'm working on character designs right now. And like I said, I just learned how to draw last October. So I'm like, how do I want this to look? So I'm working on that. And then yeah, just a lot of other stuff down the line, hopefully when the world opens up again.
All right. I love it, man. Bro, always inspired by you. Before we go, we have something we always do. If you've watched the show, you should know what it's going to be, but I will already tell you because what you already do is quite nerdy. You can't use this. You can't use the table talk D&D stuff. So hit him, Tina.
Well, we actually have 2 questions now.
Oh, okay, my bad. Go ahead.
Oh shit, they upgraded. Okay.
I know, right?
Okay, hold on. I'm getting ready.
The first one's serious. The second one's fun. So, what does your Filipino heritage mean to you?
Is that the fun one? I don't.
It can be.
Like, oh god.
She was like.
I'll say this right now. I feel like I've been like waxing poetic with y'all all night. I hope that's not annoying to your listeners. Right now, I'll say my Filipino heritage to me is like a need for connection. You know, like I'm not going to be like proud to be Pinoy, all this shit. It's like, no, I'm like hella disconnected from my heritage outside of food, outside of watching Manny Pacquiao fight, outside of like the real basic ass Phil-Am shit that we all do. And I don't want to feel that disconnected. You know, I've been wanting to go back to the Philippines, but then the pandemic happened and also money's tight. So like being able to find that connection, and also, you know, I'm getting at that age where Eliza and I are talking about having kids. I don't want my kids to grow up the same way I did, where they don't feel connected to their heritage. I don't want to further dilute that. So it's that need for connection, I think, is the answer. TLDR.
Good answer. That's a good answer. Yeah. I like that. I like that it's not just like, oh yeah. I'm so proud. Because like,
also like that, man. Pamela one. Yeah, no.
No, that's good. I feel you on that.
All right, fun one.
Yeah.
Kind of. Nerd check. So
Oh, fuck.
you know that you're super nerdy.
Oh God, y'all are gonna hit me with like one of the things I don't know, and I'm like, I'm
No, we're not. We don't quiz you. But you have to do. Let's pretend you got to get up. You got to give a TED talk in the next 10 minutes on something, and you can't use tabletop because you just did. So what is your area of specialty? What can you wax poetic on? What is deep in your heart as far as your nerddom?
Ooh, okay. So this is why sports anime has been really, really great for getting geeks to be more athletic. First off, they get you excited about sports. First off, they get you really excited about sports as a geeky, nerdy person. I have watched a lot of sports anime in my life, from volleyball to baseball.
Yeah, really.
Haikyuu, hell yeah. Sorry. Volleyball to baseball. My OG is Prince of Tennis, so I started there. Food Wars is totally a sports anime. I don't give a shit what anyone says. It has the same formula.
There's a tournament arc. What do you?
There's a tournament. Every arc is a tournament arc. Yeah. And I think the best thing about sports anime is it's a great gateway for people to learn how to do something. And I think the greatest representation I can have for anybody about that is the fact that I learned how to cook literally from watching Food Wars. And like, that's no bullshit. Like, I had no interest in cooking, and then Food Wars got me stupid hype over cooking. And then I transitioned to other things. And like, I'm not saying I'm a great athlete. I'm just saying that I've watched enough sports anime that could probably kick ass, or I'm convinced I can without any.
Definitely follow more Olympic sports, having seen sports anime.
I'm actually more interested in baseball now, which I've never been into it, but I've been binging Ace binging Ace of Diamond like the past couple of weeks, and I'm like, fuck, baseball is cool as shit. So yeah, if you want to get anybody to anything, like legitimately, I want there to just be a sports anime for like everything. Like there should be a cosplay sports anime where like, Tina, you'd be walking out in a cosplay and be like, what's this?
There really is an anime for everything. It's just some of them aren't very good, or some of them aren't very long. I'm trying to get into the long distance running one. I'm really hyped for, because apparently it's the same like people as Haikyuu, so it's supposed to be like the same quality.
Love it.
Really hyped about that.
And then my last note here is that anime is like porn. Let me explain. When you first start watching porn, like anime, you'll start with the really normal shit that everyone expects. You know, the guy and girl is your Dragon Ball Zs. The girl on girls, you start getting a little weird, maybe getting into like the Naruto if you're our generation, stuff like that, the One Piece. But then the more you watch, the more you notice it's the exact same shit over and over again. So you start getting into really weird shit, the stuff that people wouldn't normally watch. For example, the point I'm at in my anime viewing journey, my current favorite anime, which only has one season out, I don't know if they're going to make more, is called Uma Musume Pretty Girl Derby. It is an anime that takes place in a universe where racehorses have evolved into horse girls.
Yeah.
They run on racetracks. They run actual races, and then the winner performs as the top 3 winners perform a J-pop concert. Yeah. It is stupid, and like I said, anime is like porn. The more you watch it, the weirder shit you start getting into, because you need something to satisfy your fix. Because like every shonen anime is exactly the same when you really break it down. So like,
I'm not 100% on board with this. I'm still totally fine watching wholesome high schoolers go to the conveni after school every day, and just like I'm still quite vanilla. I'm in the vanilla tags, and I'm happy where I am.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that there are some people who are just into vanilla porn, so the metaphor still applies, or the simile.
I know enough about it to harass weeds. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Your experiences may vary.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anime is like porn. Your experiences may vary. Some people stay with the vanilla shit. Some people watch some buck wild shit. Like there was another one. I don't remember the name. It's a sports anime. It only had like 1 season out, but it was like girls fighting on floating butts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Butts and boots. I know exactly. Yeah. There's weird shit out there, man. There's
weird shit out there. But like the thing is, the writing was so good. I actually cared. I was like, oh shit, like, is she gonna get this technique down? Oh fuck. Like sometimes like there's weird shit, but people put top-notch quality into that weird shit. And that's what we should all strive to do.
Physics were very, very stringently calculated. I'll give you that.
Oh, anime.
Anime, love it. There's my geeky things to say. And anyone can find all of our links and stuff in the description. I don't know.
Yeah, everything will be in the description. Yeah, anything else you want to say, Jemarc, before we let you go?
Yeah, so the ShoPowSho is hella important. If y'all are listening to this, you know that. Definitely go tell your friends, tell other friends, because Filipino people aren't just crashing through walls yelling proud to be Pinoy. Like, we're not a monolith, as Pat says. We're so much more than that. We're diverse, we have different experiences, and we're all striving to connect with our heritage. So, for sure.
Bro, Kuya, Jay, I love you, man. I'm so proud of you and just everything you're doing. And like you told me, if you ever need someone to cry it out, because we can't do it together. When we can't get together, I'm gonna give you the biggest hug. First, I'm gonna ask you though. I'm gonna let you know, hey, can I hug you?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna ask first.
And I'm gonna ask you if we can cuddle after. It'll be a good time.
There we go. I love you, man.
Love you too. Love all y'all. Kat, we best friends now. That's just all it is to it.
Y'all got a lot of and now I know a lot more about Kat.
I'm telling you, people will be like, I'm gonna look up your search history and see what porn you're watching. No, look at their anime history. That's what you really gotta check.
You need to chill out, all right? I'm gonna need you to not.
That one's really good.
See?
What is it called?
My roommate is a cat.
That sounds amazing. I'm gonna look that up right now.
It's great. He's a writer, and then he adopts a cat, and then it's just him. Like, he's kind of a hikikomori, so he kind of doesn't really leave the house, and so he goes on adventures to the pet store, or he goes on adventures to go to the grocery store or whatever else, and meet somebody who can help him cat sit, and it's super wholesome and adorable, and that's what I'm into, Jemarc.
that is on. Okay. No, hold on. I can still make the metaphor work with that. You are the emotional person who purposefully looks up dogs reuniting with their soldiers when they return from being overseas. That's your type of porn, the wholesome experience.
That's not porn.
It's emotional porn.
I mean this with love. We're best friends now through this conversation and through osmosis. But men ruin everything.
You know what? I'm gonna say this with love, and we're gonna connect in the eyes here. You're absolutely right. That's not even. I got no arguments there. Shit. Some people are I would never wish for a girl. It's no, I want a girl, dude. Guys suck. Let's do it. I mean, hopefully, if we have a boy, that they'll either be trans or I'll just do a good job of raising them not to suck. But it's nerve-wracking out here, man. It's a struggle. As a man, I can speak with confidence. Men suck. Yeah.
I'll agree. We're terrible. All right, y'all. That was my boy Jemarc. Kuya J. Love you. And we're gonna talk about you now. And there you go. Follow after this, and then make sure you hit him up. All the information is in the description below. Hit him, my boy Jay, and we'll have him back again real soon because that's my brother. Love you, man. All right, there you go. That was my boy Kuya Jemarc Axinto. Make sure you check out We Are Heroes Productions LLC and Tabletop for the End of the World. If you're a D&D fan, or if you're not a D&D fan, if you're wanting to get into it like I'm wanting to get into it, I'm definitely going to check it out. And that's my boy. He always makes me smile, makes me happy, because as you can tell from our interview, he speaks from the heart. And looking forward to that, brother. If him and his girl eventually want to have children, I could see him being a great father. So shout out to Jay, man. It was a pleasure talking to you. Ladies, Tina, you know him a little bit. Kat, your first time meeting him. What do you think about that interview?
I liked it. I thought that was great. I like the things that he said about raising children and how him and his wife are very conscious of that, and how they're gonna have mixed race kids, so they're already having those conversations about including their heritages and giving them diverse role models to look up to, and I think that's really important moving forward in this post-Trump world. True.
I love that. Yeah. You have to speak on these things, you know what I'm saying? One can't be above the other, My wife and I talk all the time because my wife's African-American and I'm Filipino-American, and I'm, as y'all know, I'm very prideful with my stuff. And so I try to make sure we're balancing that, that she knows and recognizes both sides of herself.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's always great to hear from another diverse DM. So
you're a DM cat? You
sometimes
dabble with that?
I keep it. I'm a DM on the DL, you know.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, your boy. I remember playing it once as a kid. I want to say I was in like middle school, and I just remember they had like this. The artwork looked amazing. I love fantasy artwork, and so I was shown the box or whatever. And then I remember going over to my neighbor's house, and they pulled the stuff out, and then they gave me a piece of paper, and I was supposed to like write about myself or write about what I wanted my character to be, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like a whole session, but I don't remember too much because I was, like I said, in middle school, probably about 10, 12 years old. But it just sounds awesome. And I see all these people that get into it, and y'all know I'm an actor. So I'm like, oh, it'd be fun, but I just haven't found the right click to get down with, you know?
Yeah, I feel like you'd be really great at it, honestly.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun too when you find a good group that you click with. Me and Kat, we were in a campaign for almost 3 years.
Yeah, and then COVID.
It's great because you can play D&D remotely, and you can play it over Discord and still have that connection with people. I don't think it's the same as being in person and being at a table and just being there with everyone. But it's cool that you can transition it over into distance if you have to. And it's just a good time. It's a good time, you know, exploring these fantasy worlds and exploring, you know, your character and your relationships, and it's a lot of fun. So definitely 10 out of 10 recommend D&D to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, I'll tell you all this right now. Look, I want to do it. So if we can find some time at some point, maybe do a future ShoPowSho D&D special. I would love to, you know, get into it. And especially with y'all who I love so much.
Oh my God. Whoa, hold on. That's a really good idea.
Have
it be the battle, and have the party facing Magellan and protecting the island, or, you know, kind of frame the campaign in that regard. I might need you to forward me some of that research.
Okay. All right. I love it. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Okay. Yeah, things to look forward to. I'm excited. And then maybe we can have
Jemarc, yeah.
And then maybe can we have glorious Chavi de Guzman with his hair to be the Lapu Lapu in ours?
I can make a fan version of him for you. Yes.
I can be his right hand, you know, guy, and he could be.
Oh my God. And that's our show for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening. Where can we find you, Tina?
Find me on Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina, and on Twitter and chess.com at vivavalentinaxo. And yeah.
All right. You can find me at Cataphoric, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. You can also find ShoPowSho on TikTok, and we do have a Patreon and a coffee. Is that how you say it? Coffee. If you want to support the show and get access to a little bit of extras behind the scene footage.
Yes, I love it. I love y'all, amazing Ates. As always, you are glorious. You're amazing. Woo! Yes, y'all. I love y'all. Join our Patreon, all that. Join the Send Gang and the Holla Holla homies, because I had a lot of fun making up those names, and I want to be able to say that all the time and shout out y'all's names. So please join us so I can say Holla Holla homies all the time. I love it. I am Kuya P, aka Patrick Michael Strange. You can find me at Temple Far East and at Strange since 1977, at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday, because nerds rule the world, and our home ship, which is the Nerds of Color, and that's Nerds of Color everywhere. We are the ShoPowSho. Mahakita. Salamat. We out of here. Till next time, y'all. All right.
everyone. My name is Jemarc Axinto with Tabletop for the End of the World, and we are Heroes Productions LLC here for the ShoPowSho. Really excited, nothing quite like having Filipino representation, but most importantly, I am here to tell you all about my thing because they told me to. So TFEW is really awesome. We are the only dual narrative D&D podcast in the world. We are about 4 people living in a post-apocalyptic America who fight in a revolution while simultaneously finding comfort in a game of Dungeons and Dragons. We have diversity, we have representation, we have a lot of satire about current day America, and a lot of our fans are in America, but also from all over the world. We've been compared to Welcome to Night Vale, The Adventure Zone, Critical Role, and Dimension 20. So definitely be sure to check us out, and check out the ShoPowSho. If you haven't subscribed yet, get your life together.